Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Occupation Story Hub. Today we have Dan. He works in the education field. And so I'd like to thank him for coming on and allowing us to tell his occupation story. And Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Dan Hantak. I've been an elementary PE teacher for 11 years. I started off in Missouri, taught for 3 years, and I've taught for the last 7 years in Texas, all elementary PE.
I can remember my PE teachers growing up more than I can. Most other, teachers in different classes. Something about the PE coach always left an impression. A quick cool story is I had the same PE teacher as my dad did when I was going through middle school, Mr. Norris. I still remember his name, but he was pretty cool. So if you can take us back, why did you choose to go into education?
So, a little bit about what you were already alluding to, Anthony. I had a great experience growing up in all of my PE classes. One Teachers will typically have like one teacher who made a big impact, and my teacher was Mr. Aller, my PE teacher. He started off being a student teacher at my third grade campus, and then when I went up to the fourth and fifth grade campus, he got the job. And then when I went to sixth grade to the middle school, he went over to the middle school. So I literally had him for 4 or 5 years. And he always brought so much fun energy. And I just remember just being anxious about going to the class. I was so excited, right? I'd
Yeah.
wake up and then when it was PE day, I'd be really excited. So I just had so many fond memories that that was one of the initial motivations for me wanting to do that career field. Thought that that job was gonna be a lot of fun to be able to do. Also, several of my family members are teachers in Missouri, and I have one family member that's a teacher in Colorado. But I was able to get all my questions answered, pretty easily from all of my cousins who were teachers. So those were 2 of the major reasons. I think looking back now, I think I took a personality test in high school, and that was one of the things that came up being a teacher. And I know now that it being a teacher plays a little bit more to my natural strengths. I'm a little bit better with words than I am with numbers and science. I originally wanted to do medical field, and looking back now, this career plays a lot more to my strengths with words and public speaking and having a passion for physical activity.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's easy to talk to adults, but keeping attention of children, that's an art, right?
For sure. For
So,
sure. So several Oh yeah.
go
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So with working with kids, we try to do a lot of different activities. We're really in the exposure business, especially at the elementary P level, where we're trying to expose them to a whole lot of different ways to be active, a lot of different sports, put a lot of different materials and equipment in their hands. And that keeps kids pretty motivated. And just from how you structure your class, we try to be quick on our directions. We try to praise kids that come in and are focused and are engaged and on task. And those are some of the ways that, we try to keep the little kids with all their energy still engaged and listening and motivated.
No, that's really cool because at least I grew up in the California public school system, um, and so I don't remember having like a coach, PE until I got to middle school. So I think that's pretty cool that at least out here in Texas they start that a lot younger, right? Um,
Right, that was always my experience, honestly. So I grew up in Illinois, but in Illinois, we always had a PE teacher, same in Missouri and same in Texas.
mm,
So
okay.
those kids are blessed to get to be able to do that.
No, absolutely. So what was that process like? You decide you want to be go into education, right? Coach. And so, uh, did you have to go get a 4-year degree and then get like a teacher certification? What did that look like?
So I would have done most of the same classes that an elementary classroom teacher would get, and then I would specialize in physical education. Any type of teacher is going to take certain types of teaching methods classes. So, yes, I have a 4-year degree. So, I took the different teaching methods class that anyone, whether they were going to be a chemistry teacher or PE teacher, was going to take. Then I specialized with certain classes like anatomy, exercise physiology, so on and so on. And then actual classes that teach you how to be an effective elementary PE teacher or a middle and high school PE teacher. So my degree is a Bachelor of Arts in Physical Education. So I have a
Gotcha.
so I have a teaching certificate for Texas.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good information. And are you able to? Is it kind of just the way things worked out, or are you able to say, okay, I really specifically want to focus on elementary versus middle school or high school, or was it just, hey, there was a job opening for elementary and I took it? How did that play out?
So that's a good question. So you get
Mhm.
a kindergarten through 12th grades certification. So I could go be a high school PE teacher or a middle school PE teacher. I was able to get the interview right away for an elementary PE teacher position, actually several of them. I just had a connection. That's, as we all know, it's important to make those connections.
Yeah,
And
who
I
you know, right?
had a connection or two, right, with some principals, and I was able to get into elementary, and I've just ended up having the most connections all the time with the elementary principals and in those buildings. So I had coaching experience. It's pretty important that if you want to go into the middle or high school levels, that you're open to doing some coaching because they're going to lean on their PE teachers pretty hard to be coaches for the before after school sports. So at elementary, there's not that expectation.
Yeah.
And but I did do some different coaching while I was in college, volunteer coaching and a little bit of paid coaching at different public schools while I was in college.
Okay. And so um, that's pretty cool. What does a typical day look like?
Okay.
Working with elementary
The typical
is
day is fast and furious. So the day will go very fast. 9 out of 10 times the day is flying by. Basically, I start with doing a morning duty, helping with the kids get dropped off. And then I have a few minutes to set up for my class. And then this year, it changes each year, but this year I teach 4 classes in the morning. Typically, the classes go back to back or only 5 minutes in between classes. And then I have my lunch and I have my conference time, which is a planning time for you to plan your lessons or make any phone calls that need to be had, basically get everything ready for that afternoon and the days forward. And then I teach 2 classes in the afternoon, and then I have my afternoon duty. So every day I teach 6 classes. This year I teach 4, and then I have a my break, and then I teach 2.
okay. And
And
what kind of activities are the kids doing?
yeah, so typically how we like to structure things is right when the kids come in, I have start on, we call it the track. It's the area between the volleyball court lines and the basketball court lines. So they come in walking, and then right away I will blow the whistle and get their attention, and we'll start doing a different, it's called a locomotor skill, a different moving skill like skipping or jogging or galloping, so on and so on. And I do that just to set the tone about how we're going to move right away, but also how we're going to listen and be focused and follow the coaches. And then we'll go into typically a type of fitness activity, an activity that doesn't take too long. It's really meant to teach kids different ways of stretching or doing different exercises, but in a fun way. Then we'll get into our main skill, that we're working on, our skill focus, whether it be a gymnastics focus or whether it be a basketball focus, so on and so on. And then finally, we'll try to end off class with a fun game at the end where they're walking out thinking about how great of a time they had. So we want them to walk out thinking about how enjoyable physical activity is, because that's our main goal. We want to inspire kids to be active and healthy for a lifetime
For
through
sure.
participating in fun activities.
And that's especially important right now. I think your job is so important. I mean, me as a parent, I try to make sure my kids are active and play sports. Where I wrestle with them, we box. I just try to be active with them. But right now, I mean, it's been this way for a while. Kids are so glued to video games and their phones, and a lot of times, maybe at home, they don't get that encouragement or that motivation to, hey, you need to go exercise, go work out. And so, I mean, I guess there's so much you can teach at that level, an understanding of, like, I didn't start to understand until I got obviously older, so really working at high school, and understand how, uh, calories are burned, how muscles built. Um, is there any basic teaching like that, at that level, as far as like maybe, how to eat healthy, how to
Mhm.
why you want to work out? Um, um, I I know attention span's limited, so I'm
Sure.
just curious, what if the actual education aspect of it is,
Mhm.
how that looks like.
Sure. So the idea is put the to sprinkle those in throughout activity each day. We don't wanna sit and talk about it for 15 minutes. We
Yeah,
wanna just mention it over and over throughout the school year about the importance of making healthy food choices and just making those healthy food choice tips basic, right? Something that they can remember and comprehend and hold on to. We're going to look for fruits when we have the opportunity. We're going to look for vegetables. We're going to limit our sweets to making them like a treat, like at a birthday party or for a special event. So we talk about how stretching is important because it helps you move better so you can be better at sports and be able to feel better while you're playing, and also it's important for when you get older for being able to stay mobile. We talk about heart health, about the importance of raising your heart rate every day and getting outside and playing 60 minutes every day, and the importance of being out in the sun, about how important sunlight is for your body. And we talk a lot about safety as well, how to be safe by the swimming pool, how to be
mm,
safe in the heat by staying hydrated, and we just want to have them well rounded and where they can look back. Like I can look back to what I did in my middle school and high school PE classes, and I still remember the stretches. Those are
yeah,
always the stretches that come to my mind, and having that baseline of those basic stretches has helped me stay mobile and encourage me to find out more.
yeah. I mean, just being able to do a basic push up, having like a foundation of fitness, and knowing, what different exercises do what, and like you said, why you want to stretch
Mhm.
is extremely important.
Think about And we think
Good.
about how important these things are, especially as a man for confidence, for being in good physical condition. It's a confidence builder, and every man needs some confidence to be able to stand up straight, and that comes through stretching and exercise to be able to stand up straight and to be able to have the health to go out and play with their kids and to be able to be a person of influence, and those things, and to be able to live a long healthy life so they can be there for their family. Those things have a huge importance that can't be understated or
Yeah,
overstated.
yeah, and I think it's important too. Lead by example, and it sounds like that's something that you do, right? It's hard to get the message across especially to the kids, if they don't see it in you. Um,
Right. and we talk about this is something that's on my mind constantly. I know you are involved in your church, and we talk about a lot about discipline in the church. We talk a lot about being a person of character and high. We have a high expectation for morals, and though that type of discipline is seen not only through those things that we do for Christ, but also just through how we conduct our everyday life, which is also part of being a Christ follower. We
Amen.
see people can look at our example and it are we taking care of our body? Are we stewarding the body that God's given us?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing for people to see that we are we're disciplined in every aspect of life.
No, absolutely. And I appreciate you bringing that up. That's really important. I mean, it makes you, at least for me, it's easy to forget that you're always being watched. Especially um, people who may be looking up to you as a mentor, or they're like, or young kids. If they, and I'm thinking back to myself when I saw somebody who was disciplined, was in shape. I was automatically drawn to them. Um, like, hey, there's something about this person that I want to mimic. And so I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because the younger generation is always looking up, looking for a mentor, someone to follow after. And it sounds like you're doing a really good job at that in the field you're working in.
Trying my best to.
Now, I mean, just me having kids will say the funniest things. And do you have any moments that you could share? That you're like, man, I can't believe, or the kid said this or did this, or I'm sure it
Oh,
happens all the
man.
time.
It's funny because I have so many stories, but I'm trying to just draw one out right on the spot.
Yeah, if you don't have nothing, that's funny. But
There's something new every day there's no day that's just predictable, right? So kids always bring something funny they're gonna say or something wild or goofy that they do, especially working with the younger kids. So
yeah,
every day is totally unpredictable.
I think of the movie Kindergarten Cop. If
Yeah.
you've seen it, yeah, it's just just the kids say the craziest things. What's been your most rewarding moment as a coach?
The things that I enjoy the most are when you can motivate kids to really push themselves and work hard. I love watching the kids work hard. There's just something about it when they're driven and they push themselves. It's a really enjoyable thing to see. Just something about it. Just something about watching them, especially those ones that are really motivated, just bust their tail. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure at the beginning of the year there may be a kid who's struggling, and just being able to take them and mentor them and encourage them, and maybe by the end of the year they're a lot further along than they thought they could make it, right?
hmm
Uh,
Yeah, and everybody's at a different level. So what we're not trying to do is turn anybody off by making them feel like they can't do something or that they're never going to be able to do what their buddy's able to do. But we try to focus on everyone has personal goals and go after your personal best. So a lot of things they may not be able to get that day, but they know how to work towards it and they are able to just continue to push themselves and work hard. And it's going to be different for everybody. Sometimes kids are going to be able to excel at something, sometimes it's going to be a challenge, and that's good. That's good for them to feel the times where they are excelling, but it's also good for them to learn to work through a challenge.
no, that's good. And I'm curious myself. um and I believe I have gaps as far as with my kids, and so you get to see um various kids from different backgrounds, What would you tell us parents? Hey, make sure you're doing these kind of things with your kids, outside of school to make sure that kids are maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So a big thing is just limiting the amount of time in front of the screens, right? So our kids have my own kids have a set time in front of the screen, but they need to also have times when they're encouraged to be outside and moving
Hmm.
and try to have those things outside that are going to be fun for them to play with, whatever that might be, and be out there with him. Like one of my fondest memories with my dad, my two memories I always have with my dad is him throwing the football in the front yard with me and him wrestling with me. So, especially for boys, those are the memories that most boys are going to have. So, as a father, you're making those memories with your son. And I know that and I know that the daughters want to do those things with their dads too. So, being out, setting that example of being active and making healthy choices is a huge deal, because if they see their parents make the healthy choices and staying active, they're much more likely. Rather, if they see their parents sedentary, they're much more likely to be sedentary.
No, that's good. I mean, just thinking back now as you said that, some of my greatest memories, my if we weren't in sports, with my dad, we were out in the woods hunting or fishing, and so
Yes,
we're always climbing the mountains. Always, I mean, I can remember my legs just hurting for my dad to be like, "Hey, we got to get over the top of this ridge and get on the other
yes,
side." And I was fortunate enough; I was able to take my son this last fall on a hunting trip to Colorado. It meant a lot to me just to have him out there with me. I know he was cold, he was struggling. I knew the shoes he was in because I had been in there before. Like, why we got to climb up this mountain in the dark? It's cold out here. But I'm hoping, when he's older, he can draw back on those memories and he'll appreciate them. For me, it was very, very enjoyable just having them out there with me and getting them
and that
active, getting them out in that
and
environment.
that quality time with him is going to be something that he's going to look back on fondly. And also the lessons, so the lessons through the outdoor activities, whether it's fishing, hunting, whether it's throwing the ball in the backyard, whatever it might
Yeah,
be, there's lessons being imparted through all of those things. And I'm sure you agree with this, Anthony. What we've been called to is we've been called to teach about the Lord from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed and everywhere in between. So
yeah.
threading in those lessons in the outdoors about how God's created it all and this is his handiwork, his masterpiece, threading all those lessons in throughout those experiences outside are
I
powerful.
like how you put that. It doesn't have to be a big theological lesson, but just weave in little pieces here and there about God and just bring attention to His glory, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's awesome. So, um, what would you tell somebody who's looking to get into either physical education or just education in general? Who's what would you kind of tell them?
Sure. So I think the first thing, and you've probably talked about this before, Anthony, is that the first thing is think about, are do your skills and talents line up to this job? So, are you going to be comfortable? Are you being comfortable being in a social atmosphere the whole day? Are you going to be comfortable with standing and delivering instruction and talking in front of a large group
Hmm.
40 hours a week? It's a lot.
Yeah,
So if that's not your personality, it can be pretty difficult. And so, like, do your talents and abilities line up with this career, or are you more suited towards a different type of career? That'd be the first thing. And then the second thing is get in working with kids as soon as possible. So the way that you get jobs in the teaching field is through your connections. So what'll happen is when a principal sees a job posting, there if it's a high demand job, which a lot of times a PE teacher is a high demand job, there may be 100 applicants. So, and there's a lot of risk for them if they hire the wrong person because
Sure.
that person is going to work with at least half of the student population in their school. I work with the entire student population. They
Wow.
have to make sure that someone's going to be able to be professional and be able to handle a large group of kids and be able to handle the emotions of handling a large group of
Patience,
kids,
right?
every type of kids.
Yeah.
You have the star students and you have the toughest kids in the school as well. So, I say that to say that they need to know who you are, and they need to see that you've had some experience. So some ideas, if you're just getting into the field, would be go work at a before and after school program, whether it's the YMCA, whether it's a different after school program that works in the schools. Go eh, go volunteer after school to help with a club or help with tutoring, or go be a volunteer coach in a school district. If you have the ability to coach a certain sport, go do that and do it as a volunteer. The more that you can give back to those schools and be around with the kids, the the principals and the ones doing the hiring, they won't forget that.
Mm.
That's how I got my first job. I was working in a before and after school program, and the principal dropped her sons off at the before and after school program. So she knew me,
Yeah.
and that was how I got the job. Don't be ashamed to get your resume right, have somebody help you with it, and just go over to that school and drop it, and just also volunteer your time. Ask them if you can come in the school and be of any help. So, as you've probably talked about before, a lot of this is, are you gonna be a giver or are you just gonna wanna take, right?
Sure.
So give back first, and people aren't gonna forget those things.
No, that's I think you nailed it on that. Be a giver. Um, and establish those relationships. And kind of the point we were making earlier is no matter what you do, the Bible says, do it unto the Lord, right? And so people are always watching you. And so if we have that mindset of, I'm going to do my best, everything I'm doing, not for in a prideful way, but just because I want to give people my best, right? And people pay attention and they remember, oh, you know who would be a good fit for this role? Dan or whoever it is. Uh, word of mouth carries a lot of weight, and those relationships that you may have sparked, at a summer camp or YMCA program or something like that, they carry a lot of weight. And
I would
I'm
also
glad you
say
said that.
one more thing, that when you find someone who is good at what they do as a teacher, even if it's not during your student teaching where you're expected to be there, get in the gym with them, volunteer, and go observe them. And you're going to find out how to manage that gym, because you're going to find out how they can keep 60 students' attention at one time, keep them on task, how to handle the common misbehaviors that can drive you crazy if you don't know how to handle them, how to give instructions, their routines. All those things are very helpful for you to be successful, especially when you're starting out, because you can feel like you're getting buried at the beginning, especially if you have big classes.
Makes sense. I'm glad you brought that up. We can learn a lot from just having like a mentor, even if they're not. an actual mentor, but just picking somebody out who's doing a good job, who's successful. And one thing they told us in the military is find somebody who's doing a good job and do what they do, right? Mimic them. If somebody's successful, they're it's worth paying attention to how they go about doing their job. That's good. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up here?
I would say that there's a lot of benefits to being a teacher. There's a lot of good family benefits. Depending on how much you coach, coaching can pull you. You have to be careful because coaching can pull you from your family quite a bit. Um, but be balanced in that. And in general, the teaching profession though will lead you to a lot of will give you your family time if you budget your time well. You'll have your nights and your weekends. Whether you pick up extra coaching duties or not, that's something that you need to pray about and think about. That would be the first thing. The second thing is be thinking early about other streams of income. There's a lot of expenses, especially once you have a family. So thinking about whether it be trying to save up for a rental property or having a side hustle or doing something of that nature because the the pay is pretty good when it's nailed down to the amount of hours you work, but
Okay.
you don't work the summers and you have a lot
Yeah.
of breaks. So that you don't work a ton of hours. I mean, I do about a 40-hour work week, but there's some weeks I don't work and I don't work in the summers. So having an idea about creating some extra income is probably going to be important.
No, that's good. I didn't even think about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, well,
But finally, I guess some encouragement would be you're going to make an impact on a lot of kids. And a lot of times, kids aren't going to tell you. They're not going to come over and tell you that you've changed their life, right? They're not
yeah,
like adults. They a lot of times won't tell you. But if they come talk to you and initiate conversation with you, you've probably made an impact
they're
on them.
telling you.
If they smile at you and want to do stuff with you during class, you're probably making an impact. And a lot of times they'll come back and talk a few years after, and that also tells you you've probably made an impact. But a lot of times they won't say anything, but we trust that they're taking those pieces of advice and wisdom that we're giving them, and we're trusting that they're gonna draw on them one day.
No, that's awesome. I think you work at a very important occupation. I mean, there's a lot of families out there where these kids don't have a male figure role model in their life, and so having someone who's disciplined, who has a fear of the Lord, um, and has the best interest of these kids in mind is extremely important. So thank you for what you do.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it today.
Absolutely. And so thanks everybody for tuning in. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on here, Dan, and letting us tell your occupation story. And hopefully it's encouraging to those who are listening, and folks can take a few pointers away from it. And God bless everybody, and thanks for watching.